Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today we are exploring a theme that's increasingly becoming a game changer for organizations across the globe: executive leadership coaching, elevating leaders for greater impact. To help us unpack this powerful topic, we are joined by a leader who truly walks the talk when it comes to performance, people, and purpose. Welcoming Dr. Brillian SK. He's the EVP and Chief People Officer at TimesPro, where he champions a performance driven culture with a strong focus on learner centric approaches. With expertise in talent development, recognition programs, and executive leadership coaching, he has been instrumental in building high performing teams and driving operational excellence. His strategic leadership supports TimesPro's expanding business landscape, empowering the workforce through thoughtful and impactful initiatives. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, HRAI. It's my pleasure to be a part of this. And thank you for inviting me. All exciting.
It's our pleasure, Brilliant, to always have you and contribute immensely to these initiatives. So thank you so much once again. So to begin with, Brilliant, my first question to you is, how do you define executive leadership coaching and what sets it apart from traditional leadership development programs?
Thank you, Neha. I'm sure many of us would know that movies are something which we all love, and I am not any lesser. I love movies, so I'll probably use analogy of a movie along with this. I think coaching is not about just acquiring knowledge, right? We all know that knowledge is easily available today. It's about transformation. And if I were to look at it from a metaphorical perspective, the iconic dialogue from the movie Shakti would come in. ये सिर्फ एक शुरुआत है. This is just the beginning. Where you can reach is purely up to the individual. And I know it's tough. When we look at traditional initiatives or programs, it's like the Diwar dialogue that Shashi Kapoor said, मेरे पास माँ है. Right? Leaders flaunt their degrees, the brand that they are associated with. But it's not about that. It's about the kind of exposure to real world that is important.
Right.
And I have learned from masters of the art that it's important to learn from the experiences of others. We don't have the time to make all the mistakes. So it's best to get an idea from an executive coaching perspective. So I would say if we move from that mindset of saying mere paas maa hai, executive coaching is purely the metaphorically the agnipath of leadership development. It is personalized, it is rigorous, it requires a lot of, I would say, investment in unlocking true potential. So if I were to summarize it, traditional process or the traditional programs are purely for Janta Janardan or for the masses. And when it comes to executive coaching, it is deep, it is relational, and is specifically made for the individual leader. So I think that's what purely differentiates the traditional versus executive coaching.
Sure, beautifully put, Brilliant, especially the movie analogy. And I love the fact that coaching is actually about transformation. Knowledge is everywhere, but it's about the
Knowledge is everywhere.
transformation. So that's the highlight. Thank you so much for that. My next question, Brilliant, is in your experience, what are some of the key mindset shifts that leaders, must undergo to truly scale their impact?
I'll just share one example. I am associated with a not-for-profit called Toastmasters, and anytime people get into leadership position, they feel that it's all about me. And it's natural, right? Because many of us have never been in that position, and we feel now I have arrived in life. So I think leadership, when we think about scale, it is moving from I to we. It is not just about me, but about all of us. Moving from a mode where we operate out of full need for control to working with trust. Especially if you look at how the entire dynamics work is if there is a move from authority to influence,
Hmm.
things are easier.
Right.
It's like saying again, please don't take it in the literal sense. It's like moving from Don to Sarkar.
Hmm.
It is purely metaphorical, no relation to dancing, violence, or abuse.
Sure.
So we will have to look at we've heard of ABCs of success, and I was thinking, how can we make it different? So I said, we will look at EFG of transformation, especially when you have to think about scale for impact. E is about empowerment, right? A leader must move from that mindset and psyche to say कि dawn को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं नामुमकिन है, which is create that fear which makes people to either follow you blindly or out of the thing that मेरा कुछ गलत ना हो जाए, to
Right.
earning respect through empowerment. And I think empowerment is a must have for any leader, especially in terms of a mindset.
Hmm.
The other element which I was thinking what can be differentiated is F, which is foresight. Now, every day we have told that we have to operate in the here and now, but we need to take a step back and think about what are the possibilities, right? It's about the past, the present, as well as the future.
Right.
Do we have this strategic foresight? Are we thinking about future? It doesn't mean that you replace the here and now, but it's about moving from a managing and controlling perspective to making it accessible, not purely democratic, but building a system, an ecosystem where you know what is it that you need to achieve few months, few years down the line. And the G of the EFG is the growth mindset, right? You need to shift from मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, this is how I operate, or individual focus to we, which I had mentioned earlier, collective growth.
Right.
This is about मैं भी बदलूंगा. If there is a need for me to change, I will change. And this is very evident from what happened to us, all of us collectively during COVID. It had to change. I will change the mindset is non-negotiable today.
Right.
So, in a world where movies are no longer the focus because we have OTT channels all around, so I would say we need to move from being a remote control to
Hmm.
becoming a compass. And I think that's the key shift that will help you scale.
Sure, fantastic. Brilliant. So to summarize, I've noted three key shifts: moving from I to we, control to trust, and authority to influence. And of course, the EFG bit: empowerment, foresight, and growth mindset. Thank you so much. My next question, Brilliant, is how can executive coaching enhance emotional intelligence and decision making in high stake environments?
No, Neha, it's sad that coaching is seen as a weakness by many leaders. And I can share from example in the past when I offered coaching support to some of the senior leaders, their response was so shocking. I don't need it. I am doing great. Right? I think, but when we look at the dynamic times that we are living in, it's important that we change with the times. It's not about what I know, it's about the larger thing that we need to focus on. We need to invest in coaching as a key to help make faster decisions. And I said this earlier, it's not about making mistakes all alone, learning from others' mistakes and ensuring that you don't repeat it. And most important for me, I think, is creating a stronger emotional intelligence levels for leaders. And I would go to the extent to say that emotional intelligence will be the base or the foundation for leadership. It's about seeing beyond the obvious. Many a times we are carried away by what we see immediately. We don't get into the depth of what's underlying that particular instance that has happened. So I feel it's important to move from being what we are today to a sense of, I would say, building self-awareness. And I think coaching helps leaders recognize and control those emotions without losing what we call as the human touch. And that's the key today in a world of AI. And sorry to share this, but if I need coaching, I can just go to DeepSeek or any of the generative AIs and ask a particular prompt, which can give me a step-by-step process.
Right.
I personally believe unless there is that human touch, it still may not work. The human touch is critical because someone out there saying, ah, yes, I understand your pain, I understand where you're coming from, is important.
Right.
For leaders, it's important to think about decision making. It's no longer about a hierarchy based decision making. Today, the decisions are required here and now. If you wait for it, things change. And I've often quoted this. First November 2023, ChatGPT came in and everyone was worried, "Arey, logo ka job jayega, people will lose their jobs." And then suddenly, Jan 25, 2025, DeepSeek came in and ChatGPT was saying, "Arey, mera khud ka job chala gaya." So that's the pace at which change is happening. So if I don't decide and if I don't get into a mode of agility in terms of decision making, I think we will lose the battle. What is important is don't get into a hurry, make it calculated, driven by data, and most important, focus on what is the end objective. So, metaphorically, again, leaders need to move from being Vijay of standard movies across to Vijay Dinanath Chavan, who's wise, balanced, and impactful. That's what I would say.
Sure. So, is it safe to say that leadership is less about knowing all the answers in the uncertain times, but more about managing that energy, empathy, and ambiguity is what it is all about in this rapidly changing world. So,
Yes, 100%. 100%.
sure. Thank you, Brilliant. My next question to you is, can you share a real world example, Brilliant, where coaching has helped transform a leader's approach for influence within an organization?
Can't take names, but I have both ones where coaching did not work because the person did not believe in the process, and the one where the person was invested in it and it changed and transformed the person. So I'll use the later. I think there was this leader that I worked with who had multiple challenges when it came to leadership. Most important was people management, crucial conversations, and the ability to say no. This person always assumed that it's important for me to say yes, and that created a problem. It created a bottleneck where everything came down and rested at this person's, desk, and it was a mess. So we put this person through a coaching intervention, which lasted for a period of 6 months based on the schedule that the person was in. And I was personally pleased when the coach came up and said, of the three people that we had put in this coaching process, this particular leader was the one that was bringing in a lot of change. I think that's the best compliment that can ever come because the business head came to me and said, Boss, I can see the change, and I think our investment in coaching has helped. I'm very happy and proud to say that that person is in the organization today and has moved from where that person was in terms of not just expectations, but the way in which the person has started thinking and working. The best part was he moved from I am like this only, right? मैं ऐसा ही हूँ mindset to I can also change. And it was all because of coaching. It is it is rightly said, and I second it, third it, fourth it, whatever number you want to add it is a coach can only do so little. Everything else is up to the individual. And 2 years later, after that intervention, from struggling and fighting a lone battle alone, he is in a position where his actions have started to bring change, both polished, disciplined, and is completely focused on it. And I think that's the best thing that could ever happen. So I believe that coaching can definitely transform if it's a two-way street.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great example, and how it beautifully gives a message that it's all about the mindset, how open you are to make those changes. So beautifully put. So this brings us to the last question, Brilliant, which is what are the most critical qualities or uh, behaviors you coach leaders to develop in order to lead the high performance and purpose-driven teams?
I may sound cliched and repetitive. We've heard it thousands of times and we've read it all over. People keep harping on it. But leadership is actually not about the titles and crowns that we have. It's about not being the hero. It's about creating more heroes within the team. And when we bring that, I think everything will change. So I would say let's focus on TVC. It's not television commercials, but T is trust, one of the most important qualities. If you've seen the movie Yarana, you will know what I mean. That it's about building a bond where the relationship is understood by all parties involved. And today it's no longer just a relationship between two parties, right? There are so many stakeholders to it. Until and unless you build that trust ecosystem and make trust as the currency, I don't think you can get high performing teams.
Right.
Yes, I can have a one-way process, but it will not work. Second, while again, this is just for the acronym, but it's not the sequence of this, is the vision, right? It's not about kaun banega crorepati, immediate, instant. thing. It's about creating a legacy. We need to move from short-term vision, saying that abhi ke abhi mil jaye to theek hai, to creating something that will be not just a legacy for the leader, but also for the organization or people around that leader that are associated with it. And the last is the C. I spoke about Agnipath, right? It's about never saying no, and the path to greatness is never built on fear. It's built on something which is much bigger than fear. Those who have conquered fear have achieved a lot. So you need to have that courage, the conviction to stand up repeatedly despite all the challenges that you face in terms of saying, this is how I emerge. So trust, vision, and courage. Yes, I could have picked a lot more, but I think in the interest of time, these three are the ones which resonate a lot with me. And the timeless dialogue of दीवार which is a favorite of mine, आज मेरे पास बिल्डिंग है, बैंक बैलेंस है, बंगला है, पर तुम्हारे पास क्या है? True leadership comes from not what you have, but from what you build in others, making more heroes. And I think that's the essence of coaching, especially from an executive perspective.
Sure. Thank you so much. It also reminds me, Brilliant. I was chatting with a leader the other day, and they mentioned a concept of leading from back. So we often talk about leading from front, but leading from back is like you have the back of the people and you make them lead, which is beautifully put by you, is to empower and create more leaders around you. And of course, the PVC concept is it is a cornerstone, I would say, of great leadership qualities. So thank you so much, and this brings us to the end of this masterclass. Brilliant, thank you so much for your time and insights. It reminds us that leadership is not just about what we do, it is also about what we become through this process and how much value we add to people around us. So thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, HRAI. And have fun. Enjoy the journey, is what I would say.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
thank you so much, Brilliant, thanks a lot.